Victims of the Nomale ghastly motor accident are said to be responding to treatment in health structures, while families of the deceased are still in shock after the tragic event. The Nkole Ding and Nangai Boko Bifogo roads are officially open for goods and services in a ceremony presided over by Public Works boss Emmanuel Nganu Jumesi. In sports, the 2020 Shan mascot Tara is on tour of the sites which will host the international competition in under 18 days. The mascot is en route to Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. And those are top stories. Good evening, and thanks for joining us on this edition of the 7:30 News with me, Gladys Tata.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Welcome back from this advert. Hospital officials of the Yaoundé Emergency Center say 3 victims who survived the Nomale ghastly motor accident and are now under their care are responding to treatment. Constantine Bomb visited the center and reports that the medical staff is leaving no stone unturned and are ready to receive more cases if need be for specialists to intervene. His report.
The critical injured cases of the ghastly road accident between the Kinimiki and Bafia in the Mbam and Enugu division are being monitored at the Yaoundé Emergency Center. The injured admitted here are 3 in number, a lady and a daughter, and a young man in his 30s.
You make scanography, you make radiology, you have a fracture of the limbs for the man who had 32 years. You have a fracture of avant-bras, who is the woman who have 32 years. And the babies not have lesion. So now you prepare them to be operating today or after.
The 3 persons are responding to treatment and are now stable as compared to when they were brought in, according to hospital sources. Transporting them from hospitals and other health units around the Kinimiki aggravated the already delicate health situation.
The transfer from Ndiki to Curie is not medical assisted. Ambulance is not easy.
For now, only 3 of the injured persons are at the Yaoundé Emergency Center, although hospital authorities are bracing up to receive more in the course of the day, if need be.
However, families are still mourning for their loved ones who perished in the Nomale ghastly motor accident in the early hours of Sunday. Struck by the tragic event, many are still in shock, but managed to share their pain and memories of their last chats and moments with their loved ones. Beatrice Lasamba reports that the unbearable pain these families will have to live with is a nightmare.
Mourning has filled the Caribbean neighborhood in Yaoundé, where Clarice Watat lived. She would no longer return to her home. Sad reality. Damn the ghastly accident that brought her tragic end. Life would have to continue for her mother without her 48-year-old daughter.
She went to Kutaba to visit her son, and she left her grandchildren with him and traveled back alone.
Clarice's roadside shed from where she fried puff-puff every day, now empty. Her neighbors in disbelief. Her family crushed by the death of their breadwinner. At Mangie, another family devastated by the death of theirs. 39-year-old Zinabu Dewa and her 1-year-old son. Her husband taking the pain one step at a time. His 3 daughters will never again see their mom and baby brother, who were homebound after attending baptism.
I called her at about 4 a.m. in vain to find out if she had arrived. Finally, I called the agency and was informed about the accident in which I lost my wife and my son.
Like Zenabu, Hamza Yaya was buried a day after the accident. The 20-year-old did not survive the car crash on the way to Yaoundé from the Dango 2 village near Kutaba.
He called me to say he was going to Yaoundé to see my sister, and I pleaded for him to wait for me.
If only he had waited a little, he probably would still be alive. The regrets are many and just don't go away a day after such tragic end.
It was yesterday, Sunday, that 39 passengers of Avenue Voyage on destination to Yaoundé perished in an accident along the Ndikinimeki Road. Barely 48 hours later, the travel agency in Yaoundé continues to operate normally with some customers queuing in to travel. Cynthia Saptala was at the Mangue neighborhood where the agency is situated and paints a picture of the agency. Her report.
It was back to business this Monday morning after yesterday's fatal accident involving a bus from Avenue Voyage. Without the usual effervescence at the travel agency's headquarters in Yaoundé, this was the atmosphere. Luggage here and there with incoming customers eager to travel today. One of them, this 15-year-old, already seated in the bus, is returning to family in Kutaba.
No, I'm not scared. It might happen like that. Accident just happened. We don't have any choice.
With no authorities on site, the cashier states that the agency is in mourning. The manager has been burying those deceased and no buses will be departing for Fumban.
The managerial staff are not on seat. Our drivers are encouraged to rest before another journey. There will be no departures.
A statement that was immediately contradicted by this passenger.
I am in the second bus. That means the first already left. I bought a ticket for my wife and she is taking the second bus today.
While many passengers seemed unfazed, blaming the incident entirely on the will of God, relatives of the deceased continue to come in search of information.
And on to something lively, the third Kole Song Ding and Nangai Boko Bifogo roads have been officially inaugurated by Public Works Minister Emmanuel Ngano Jumesi. During today's inaugural ceremony, both mayors of Nkoteng and Nangai Boko lauded government for the completed projects financed by the public investment budget of Cameroon. Details with Joyce Kimbi Fowaju.
Inaugural rites respected. Last act of the ceremony that kicked off with an appreciation visit on the third section of the roads. Both mayors of Nkoteng and Nangai Boko, in synergy with the senator of the Upper Sanaga division, appreciated the realization that has turned their nightmares into joy. The tarring of the Nkole Sondeng and Nangai Boko Bifogo roads are priority to government.
For the head of state to concretize his commitment, he decided to build this road. When he takes the decision, he makes sure that his decision is concretized.
The joy of the locals were further intensified by the announcement of more complementary works.
We have started constructing the communal road, but we have also some social amenities like classrooms, which to be constructed. We have also a water supply system to be constructed.
However, the mayors were challenged to ensure maintenance of the roads that costed government a colossal sum of over 55 billion CFA francs.
Members of the Technical and Follow-up Committee in charge of CEMAC integrated projects have begun examining some 12 projects retained for implementation. The meeting is geared to steer economic and financial reforms within the CEMAC region and is equally a follow-up to a roundtable conference held in Paris in November 2020 to mobilize funds for each project. Mercy Achu tells us more from CRTV Littoral in Douala.
For discussion at this video conference, grouping members of the technical committee in charge of CEMAC integrated projects are key elements that should serve as a GPS guiding participants. One, that reports of all finances mobilized by financial partners be presented. Two, that a review of why these resources were mobilized. And three, that a calendar of activities for each member state be submitted.
Our head of state, they did decided during the meeting in Yaoundé that we are going to implement 12 projects to integrate our region economically, make sure that we don't go and buy things that we can produce in our region, making sure that you can go from one capital to another, making sure that we have electricity, and making sure that the population, our young people, they are well educated. So that is why we have 11 projects. We are meeting today in Douala to study the conditions of the financial announcement made in Paris.
This working session is therefore paving the way for action plans to bridge economic gaps within the CEMAC zone.
The year 2020 that is ending is one which the decentralization process in Cameroon was completed with the setting up of regional councils and assembly. It was equally a year that saw the organization of the holding of municipal and legislative elections. In the first of our series of retrospective reports on 2020, CRTV's Abniza Kanga goes back on the major political events that marked the year.
The landmark political event in Cameroon in 2020 was undoubtedly the setting up of regional councils and assemblies to complete the decentralization process that started in 1996. The first ever regional council elections were organized on December 6, 2020, followed by the holding of the first ordinary sessions as of right to elect the executive bureaus of regional councils and assemblies. The decentralization process was therefore fast-tracked in 2020 to meet the desires of the local population that want to have a greater say in the management of their own affairs. The setting up of regional councils and assemblies also provided the opportunity to begin seeing in concrete terms the special status granted to the Northwest and Southwest regions. Apart from regional council elections, municipal and legislative elections were also organized in the country on February 9, 2020. 8 political parties won seats in parliament for the 10th legislative period as follows: CPDM 152, NUDP 7, SDF 5, PCRN 5, UDC 4, FSNC 3, UMS 2, MDR 2. Out of the 8 political parties, the PCRN, FSNC and UMS were coming to Parliament for the first time. 2020 was also a year which saw a slight improvement of the socio-political situation in the Northwest and Southwest regions.
From businesses crashing altogether to others functioning to the lowest capacity, the impact of the coronavirus on many sectors of the economy has been crushing. In response, tax exemptions, assistance to households, and to the creation of a special fund were part of measures put in place by the state to cushion the effects of the pandemic. Luma Slim Davies tells us more.
With the recovery of global economy and the implementation of the Growth and Employment Strategy paper, Cameroon's economic activities moved up with an estimated growth rate of 3.3% as from 2010 as against 1.9% earlier. This trend continued a while and was expected to maintain a stable growth until the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, which in no small measures cracked down on several sectors of the economy. Flights were suspended and airports became unfunctional. Land borders and sea borders also suffered, and the result was a drastic drop of activities in all sectors of the economy. Companies had to lay off workers to balance revenue with expenditures and minimize losses. Many businesses closed up or functioned less than their profitable capacity. The government then had to step in to salvage the situation. A survey was carried out and hard-hit businesses and households were identified for government's subventions. Several businesses were exonerated from certain taxes and custom duties. While the pandemic is said to have slowed down, government continues rendering assistance in cash and kind.
While 2020 was marked by a number of economic ups and downs, the state is set to reawaken the country's growth drive from 2021, with the National Development Strategy 2020-2030 serving as guide. To tell us more about the stakes of this agenda, joining me in studio is senior reporter Clarice Aritakan. Hello, Clarice.
Hello, Gladys.
Yeah, Clarice, so what are we looking at with NDS 30?
4 things, Gladys. First of all, we have to know that the National Development Strategy 2020-2030 is going to be government's development roadmap for Cameroon for the next decade. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is structural transformation of the economy. Here we have to look at building industries, services, and productive infrastructure. The second thing will be the development of human capital and well-being. The labor force is diverse, so government is going to be laying emphasis on demographics, on education, and on training, because as you well know, without a skilled labor force, you will not be attaining the expected target of growth. There's equally going to be the third thing, which is going to be the promotion of employment and economic integration, which has a lot to do with job creation. And fourthly, is going to be governance, decentralization, and the strategic management of the state. Now, these are the 4 pillars on which Cameroon's development agenda for the next 10 years, that's a decade, is going to depend on. And of course, it will have to do with implementing and executing corresponding action in order to attain the expected growth targets.
So another focus will be import substitution and Cameroon's involvement in the African Continental Free Trade Area. Clarice.
That's quite correct. You know, import substitution is an imperative in order to curb reliance on foreign merchandise. You know, that's been crippling the local manufacturing base. And more, there's a call for nations to build their local manufacturing base in order to produce what they consume, and in order to encourage consumers to trade with other nations. And there's going to be a shift which is going to be observed in 2021 regarding import substitution, because the government is out to lay emphasis on the different growth and wealth creation sectors. We have agriculture, we have livestock, we have fisheries, we have youth employment, we equally have the promotion of the digital economy. And you mentioned the African Continental Free Trade Area. That's very strategic, and we all know it's going to be enforced from January 2021, and Cameroon is going to be involved in that ride. And in order to enable Cameroonian entrepreneurs compete with the rest of Africa on competitive terms, there's a preferential tariff that has been instituted, and that is going to be enforced from the 1st of January 2021. So local entrepreneurs want to get involved with the African Continental Free Trade Area. It's great news for business. They have preferential tariffs that have been instituted, and in order to enable them better sell, better produce, better process, they've been given this tariff to enable them trade on competitive terms with the rest of Africa. So, Gladys, those are some of the things that Cameroonians are going to be seeing in 2021 on the economic scene. And we all know now the ball is in the court of all the major economic players in Cameroon. We're talking about the public and the private sector.
Well, that's good news there for Cameroon, Clarice.
It is great news indeed.
Thank you very much for being here.
My
and
pleasure.
hope to be in your company tomorrow, Clarice.
My pleasure.
Okay. And a 2-day consultative meeting to assess government's health response plan to the coronavirus pandemic and seek solution to counter the threat of a resurgence during this festive period. And upcoming international sports competitions is underway in Yaoundé. And this forum is chaired by the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manaoda Malachi, which is to limit the spread of the pandemic in Cameroon. As you tell us, Alice Mbey.
The fifth phase of the operation to fight against coronavirus pandemic has been based on evaluating the progress of work carried out within the current year, likewise its finances. Present to witness this exercise were some members of the National Assembly.
We wanted to know what has been done in the past for this pandemic and what is done for the prevention. And the question of vaccination has also been evoked.
Proposed solutions during the conference featured resensitization of the population on anti-COVID-19 measures.
We are also basing our ideas on local productions. We noticed that our country was depending on foreign products during the COVID-19 pandemic. The government is ready to encourage local production.
At the moment, Cameroon can boast of 95% of COVID-19 recovery cases and 15% of infected persons.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
The 49th extraordinary session of the Board of Directors of the Cameroon Radio Television CRTV has held today with focus on the technical rehabilitation of the structure. Board members under the chairperson of the board president, Rene Emmanuel Sadi, also brainstormed on the challenge of living up to national and international expectations with regards to hosting the CHAN 2020 and CAN 2021, amongst other issues. Beatrice Ngom was there. Here's our report. Well, we shall be having Beatrice Ngom in the course of this newscast, and barely 24. Well, that is a report here with Beatrice Ngom on the board meeting, the 49th extraordinary board meeting that just took place here in Baladi. Beatrice Ngom has a report.
For close to 4 hours, CRTV's boss presented the 3-year plan of their structures to the board for examination. The goal, management reaffirmed the board members, is to remain a reference in the audiovisual landscape in Africa and to be the leader they are working with government in spite of the socio-economic shocks brought about by COVID-19 to ensure a smooth coverage of the 2 continental events the country will be hosting, the CHAN and the AFCON. CRTV has acquired state-of-the-art broadcast and transmission equipment with the help of government to enable it distribute quality signals during the major events on the international scene. Besides discussing the organization of these football events and the technical rehabilitation of the CRTV, the board also examined the problem of human resource management with the resolve that more multitask staff has to be recruited to guarantee qualitative services. Board members also lauded management for its managerial skills while insisting that good governance is important to ensure that staff perform the duties expected.
Now we go back to this report where the new coronavirus strain detected in some European countries, which infects faster than the current virus, is feared to have far-reaching effects if most countries get infected. Can the new coronavirus strain have similar effects in Africa and Cameroon in particular? Let's join Baldwin Sama at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center with his guest, Dr. Joseph Funkam, with updates. Hello, Baldwin.
Professional. The possibility where the new COVID-19 strain detected in some European countries Africa. What may just be some of the effects on Africa if this new COVID-19 strain gets to any of these African countries? We discuss that tonight with Dr. Joseph Funkam, our guest and virologist. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening, Baldwin.
What are some of these effects we may witness if this new COVID-19 strain gets to Africa?
Effectively, Baldwin, we are getting more and more worried. And why? Because in the
Well, we are sorry for that, the quality sound there, and we might be coming back to you, Baldwin Sama, in a few minutes. And on to this advertorial, the first 3 winners of the MTN Cameroon end-of-year offer of 20 cars and 20 million CFA francs to its customers have been handed to the company, to some people here in Yaoundé by the company. This took place at Kansig Mendon Stadium during a ceremony organized by MTN Cameroon to hand over the 3 brand new cars. Details with Yannick Lema of CRTV Center.
In its desire to always give customers the best during the end-of-year festivities, MTN Cameroon offers 20 cars and 20 million francs CFA to its customers to be won every week, handing over the first 3 cars to the winners in Yaoundé. The regional sales manager for the center too said MTN Cameroon's mission is to satisfy its clients.
I'm so elated because on the go we have 2 winners. And last year when we launched the campaign, we had numerous winners. I think this is just a start because I believe that on Friday we're still going to select another winner. So I just want to encourage the population that it is real. Every 20 minutes, there's 20,000 francs to be won in mobile money. Then every week, you have a car or 2 cars to be won.
For their part, the winners were very thankful to MTN Cameroon for the brand new cars, which they consider as a special blessing from God through the leading telecommunication company.
I would say thank MTN Cameroon for making me receiving something that I didn't hope for. It's a blessing from God that anyone who put his trust that God can do something for him, let him also continue with MTN Cameroon. To prove it out, MTN has already given me the car that I won. It is not something that they say they flash without giving. It's something that when you do with MTN, when you do the transaction through their Momo, if you go to the Jamboree, your number can come out and you also win, as I have done it.
MTN Cameroon used the ceremony to drill its customers on how to subscribe and be eligible to win the offer that runs to February 2021. The ceremony was graced with a musical animation and comedy from Cameroonian artists Coco Ajante and Irish Takam.
Let's take you over to the littoral region to talk sports, where the Intermediate Lions of Cameroon lost 0-1 to Stade Arena of Melung in a friendly encounter at the Bepanda Omnisport Stadium over the weekend. The fixture is part of Cameroon's preparation ahead of the African Nations Football Championship CHAN that kicks off in under 18 days. Rosalind Fossa of our Littoral Regional Bureau has highlights of the encounter.
There is no time to waste as the clock ticks towards the January 16, 2021 kickoff date for the CHAN. The Intermediate Lions multiplied their training sessions. In this friendly with First Division side Stade Arena of Melung, the boys of Coach Tongo Pili do not find it easy to break through the defense compartment of their opponents. Throughout the first and second halves, the players exhibited poor shots on target and a lack of general coordination. Even the entry of Jacques Zouin at the 77th minute of play practically changed nothing. It was at the 92nd minute that Renard striker Didier Pope took advantage of a weak Intermediate Lions defense and raised the curtain for what became the official goal of the encounter.
We just need to improve our mental situation. I think if mentally and physically we improve our situations, the next games will be better than this. But like I said, we're continuing our job very serene and very calm. This won't disturb us from doing the best before and during the competition.
Coach Tongo Pile acknowledged the loss against his team and says it is a wake-up call to be more serious. It is the first defeat conceded by the Intermediate Lions in the past couple of weeks.
Meantime, the official mascot of the 2020 African Nations Championship continues its tour to the different towns to host matches of the competition. This Tuesday in Douala, after Yaoundé yesterday, the population of the nation's economic capital, Douala, will have the opportunity to commune with the mascot. How symbolic is this tour by the mascot? Baldwin Sama tells us more.
Considered a laudable initiative, the tour of the different host cities of the upcoming African Nations Championship by the official mascot remains a veritable opportunity to take the mascot closer to the population. The tour permits football lovers and Cameroonians at large to have a closer view and a closer touch of the mascot that hitherto was little known by many. A sign of patriotism, it will reignite the feeling of belonging and the spirit of togetherness promoted having the mascot along the different streets of the host cities.
Things are going soon to start. That's why we decided to launch this mascot tour, which will cover all the various sites where the competition will take place. So it just will tell Cameroonians that we are ready to offer to the African population a fantastic show.
The joy it generates as it tours the different cities, they are telling signs that the official mascot of the upcoming African Nations Championship is accepted.
And that's where we draw the curtains on this edition of the 7:30 News. Thanks for watching, but you'll be in the company of Romeo Trisongok at 8:30 for the news in French. I'll be back same time tomorrow, God willing. Good night.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing